It seems it wasn't long ago, the naive world that I used to know, protected from violence and sheltered from harm, an innocent childhood free from alarm, before the voices that taught us about race and color, when I actually believed that I should love one another, instead of picking and choosing who I call brother. It wasn't long ago, I ran out to play, shooting some hoops in my friend's driveway. You see, we didn't know our ancestors' history, and so many times I wish it had just stayed a mystery. But the voices we hear give an education that begins a mutation of our relations with other people who have different shades of pigmentation. It wasn't long ago. We were all taught the song. In Sunday school, we all sang along. But this voice was different. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world isn't just for little boys or just for little girls. In fact, the ones who need that voice now are the grown-ups. It seems we've all allowed the voice of society to dictate what's true. It dictates your mentality, your reality, and then it dictates you. Blue lives, black lives, of course they all matter, but the voice that infiltrates all of that chatter is the voice of hate and the voice of anger, telling us to lash out on a total stranger. The voices of pain and hurt on both sides, so many lives touched from those that have died. And I understand the voices that ring loud in your ears. And for those who've lost family and friends that are dear, all the chaos of this world is overwhelming you. And maybe it's so bad that you've decided you have no other choice but to hate the ones that have hurt you. Well, let me tell you, you don't have to. You see, despite how you feel that you're trapped in a place overcome by a war of color and race, you feel as though your hands are tied, voices demanding that you take a side. But in the midst of all the cries and voices, I want you to know that you have choices. Because there's another voice that calls out amidst all the others, but it's a still small voice, so it often gets smothered. But this voice is pleading with a heart that's been broken, a voice filled with words of love that are spoken. And this voice says to be kind one to another, with a heart that's tender to forgive your brother. And your brother isn't just someone who matches your skin. You don't have to be related to be next of kin, because in God's eyes, we're all related, all descendants of the first man that He created. You say, that voice is talking crazy, the words that it speaks. I mean, how many times do I turn the other cheek? 70 times 7, that's what His words say, but can I tell you what He meant? It was to just do it every day. I know what you're thinking. Choices, you say? I mean, what do I have to choose? If I forgive time and again, it's still a lose-lose, with a sure guarantee to get used and abused. Yeah, maybe. But let me ask you, wasn't He? When He gave His life and He hung on a tree, didn't He get used when He was beaten and bruised? Yeah, He was. And just like you, He didn't have to choose. And when He gave up the ghost, it sure looked like He lost. All hell's voices cheered as He died on the cross. It sure seemed like defeat when that old tomb was sealed. It's not just black words on white paper. What happened was real. But 3 days later, that one voice prevailed. And that same voice cries out now. It calls and compels. But let me tell you, that voice isn't boisterous and loud. It isn't crying out for attention. And it sure isn't proud. The other voices may tell you that the only way to win is to make others pay for their actions and sin. But the only way to have peace in the end is to give kindness instead of violence, understanding instead of blame, instead of actions of hatred, words of comfort for pain. You see, revenge won't heal it. The media won't conceal it. Legislation can't appeal it. There's only one way to truly deal with it. What you see on your TV may frighten and scare. But this voice calls for courage and knees bowed in prayer. You see, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, but grace and forgiveness delivers mankind. So while all the voices cry out for your ear, please don't forget what I'm saying right here. Whether true joy and peace will one day break through, it all depends on which voice you choose to listen to.